Let's get started. Our first speaker tonight is Kathleen Tiegs. Kathleen has the remarkable honor and challenge of representing, she's the president right now of the Association of California Water Agencies, known as ACWA. There's, 450 members from all over this state, and they represent a variety and diverse and distinct interest. And she's got the challenge of kind of herding them all and corralling them all and trying to get them to operate as one unit in terms of going to Sacramento and presenting the water agency perspective in Sacramento as far as water policy is concerned. So she's traveling all over the state now, hearing from Californians about what people think about water, what they think about their water pricing, and what they think about the water future. So she's going to bring a valuable statewide perspective. Before being president of ACWA, she served on the Cucamonga Valley Water District for several years, and so she has the perspective of being, a water board member, a water agency board member. But before that, for 30 years, she worked with a public agency that provided water. So she's got a depth of experience. So, Kathleen, would you join us?
There it is. Well, good evening, everyone, or I guess I should still say good afternoon. And Ashley, thank you for coordinating this, and UCR, thank you for this beautiful facility. I see a lot of familiar faces out here, so I'm glad you're here to support me, and I'm going to take one for the Gipper. Any tomatoes, I've got them for you, so don't worry about that. As John said, I have water in my blood, literally and figuratively. So after a long 30-plus year career with a wholesale water agency, then being elected to Cucamonga Valley Water District in 2005, where I currently serve. I also got involved with California Special Districts and was seated on their statewide board. And then, as he said, I have the pleasure of serving as president of the board of the Association of California Water Agencies. And when that gavel was handed to me at the fall conference out here, actually last December, I made a commitment to all the ACWA members, 430 of them, that I would put boots in their camp over the next 2 years to hear their story. So far, I have 50 of them under my belt, and it's just amazing to see throughout this great state how we are one state, we are one water. Sometimes we become siloed and think, oh my gosh, this is only happening to us. We're the only ones that are having to take our grass out. We're the only ones that are being asked to cut back. But I hope that my presentation will share with you that you're not alone, that we are one state, that we have some big issues to face, some monumental decisions to be made this year as to the future economy of this great state and what we're going to do with our water supply. So before I get started, I'm just curious, how many in joining us tonight, how many of you enjoyed a nice lunch this afternoon? Just kind of kicked back and had a nice lunch, maybe had a glass of water with that lunch. And when we get done tonight, I'll bet you there's a couple in this audience that are probably going to go home and maybe go out and probably enjoy a nice glass of wine. Am I out? Yeah, got a couple of hands on that one. So just for those that you may not know, it takes about 32 gallons of water to produce 1 glass of wine. 32 gallons of water, that's about 160 gallons of water to produce 1 bottle of wine. So you look at that red wine or the white wine and you really kind of say, well, I'm drinking wine, so I'm conserving water. But in reality, we are using water. And I also learned a very interesting fact today. My sister was over visiting from Hawaii, and she shared with me that it takes 1/2 gallons of water, 500,000 gallons, to produce 1 pound of sugar. So it kind of puts into perspective when rate increases come at us and you're saying, why am I having to pay more? Why is water going to cost me more? Water is used for a lot more than just quenching our thirst and keeping us alive longer than 3 days. So with that, let me get underway. As I shared, I serve on the board with the Association of California Water Agencies. As you see, responsible for 90% of the state's water that's distributed in our state. That's a lot. We're public agencies. We do not have mutual water companies or for-profit water companies as part of our association. We provide advocacy, federal, state, and local projects, surface and groundwater. I'm sure through your newspaper, maybe some of you have seen SGMA or the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, which I know it's impacting this area out here. We agricultural, urban, industrial customers, so we represent the gamut from the members of Aqua and also the wholesale and retail agencies. As I said, we're public non-for-profit agencies governed by locally elected officials. And if you don't know the officials that are in here tonight, I would encourage you to stop them before they leave and get to know them and get to know your elected board members for your respective water districts. They are a wealth of knowledge and they can help you to understand the true value of water. We also plan the ratepayers in your respective water districts are also responsible for the infrastructure. And those that may not be familiar with infrastructure, just look at it as the pipelines that get the water. So when you turn that tap on in the morning or you get into that shower and turn that water on, there is water, a reliable supply and of good quality. And they're also stewards of local ratepayer dollars. Water agencies take their responsibilities seriously. And I would ask everyone that, unfortunately, there are a few that have been in the news over the last few years that put a dark light on water agencies. Trust me, they are far and few between, and openness and transparency is the key and the motto that water agencies live by. Again, I encourage you, get to know your agencies. So as far as transparency, as you know, how many in this room have attended a board meeting of your local water district? How many of you attend that meeting when it's not a Prop 218 hearing? Oh, there are a few, thank you. They are very interesting and fact-filled. So again, don't just go when there's a hot issue and you're wondering why the rates are going up. Go and learn more about your district, and who knows, one day you may be sitting on that board. Board members, elected officials, if you're not aware, must complete regular ethics training, and we must file forms with the Federal Fair Political Practices Commission, which is the FPPC. Patrick, how are you? Good to see you. Patrick O'Dowd, that's another elected official. Now I'm pointing you out, Patrick, so they know right where you are. Agencies, obviously all of our records are audited to ensure that the public funds are managed properly. So again, it's your dollars that you have entrusted the board of directors and staff at the respective districts to use efficiently and by the law to operate their systems and get that water delivered to you. And they are accountable to the local voters. You're the ones that put them in office. You are the ones that will continue to leave them in office, or you're the ones that will decide that it's time for a change and remove them from office. So a lot goes into getting that water to you 24/7, 365 days a year, unless you don't pay your bill. Then you might have a slight interruption. But outside of that, those pumps are running and the water is there when you need it. Regular maintenance and complex water systems. If you could go in and if we all could be Superman for a day and use our X-ray vision and look into the menagerie of pipelines and the web of pipelines that are below us that take water everywhere you need it, it is truly amazing that those systems are maintained, they are checked, they are cleaned. When something gets clogged or pipelines break and need to be replaced, it's just amazing what's underground. Advanced water treatment, this is key. The regulatory agencies seem to think that water treatment needs to be taken up several levels and to treat the new constituents that are in the water according to the federal agencies. And when they make those choices, that means new treatment plants need to be built or modifications need to be made, not by the district's choosing because we meet standards, we're drinking that water, but they feel that they need to be elevated. So in comes retrofits, new construction, new treatment plants. I know that for my district, Cucamonga Valley Water District, we just completed construction of a $40 million upgrade to our water treatment plant. Not by our choosing, but by regulatory guidelines that had been changed, and we now had to amend our treatment process to meet those. So 40 million, we did it, it's behind us, and we will move on now. And the public was in support of that. Investments in new technology, infrastructure, and resources, as I've just alluded to, those are always changing. And your water districts are ahead of the game and very proactive in making sure that the water you drink is right there for you. So since the 90s, water agencies have invested close to $20 billion with a B dollars to upgrade water systems, to build their water treatment plants. Again, everything it takes to get that water to you. Investing from water recycling to water use efficiency to storage to desalination. I know that there is recycled water used out in this area. I believe as I'm traveled the area, you do see purple pipes out there, which is great. You'll have areas that are in close proximity to wastewater treatment plants or resource plants, as they're now referred to, and you'll see much more purple pipe out there. But for all the recycled water that's used, that's making the potable water more available for your consumption. And the recycled water, if you're not aware, only gets used on landscaping and industrial processes. It's not coming into the homes, and you're not drinking that yet. These local investments protected the state's overall economy during the drought. Don't be alarmed by the comment that I just made. You're not drinking it yet. There is Orange County, which I'll reference them in a moment, down in Orange County. They've got a treatment plant that's bringing nationwide attention to them, and they are doing that very thing, treating the wastewater. It's going down into the ground and then coming back up again, and that is their supply source. And everybody's still alive and everybody's still smiling, so it's a good source. Local water agencies, there's some of the things that they use their dollars to invest in the future. Again, you have people moving in, there's an abundance of water, you've got to build that infrastructure to deliver the water. Maintain and repair and upgrade the infrastructure, I've alluded to that. Develop drought resilient supplies. That goes back to the recycled water, the purple pipe in the lower left corner. Again, everyone's going to be flushing, everyone's going to be taking showers. That water will always be there, and they're using that. They're making their water systems more efficient, going out and looking for leaks, preventing the leaks from going down, the silent leaks, as we call them, that may be going underground that we're not aware of. And the most important thing is they continue to deliver that high quality drinking water that you rely on 24/7, 365 days a year. So I've asked a couple of people have asked me, so why the increase in the cost of water? And I always like telling people, water's free. There is no cost for the water. The water comes from the heavens, or the water comes from an underground spring. The cost for the water comes in getting that water treated and distributed and delivered to the residents and the businesses. The list that's in front of you there shows what drives the cost of water. As I alluded to earlier, you've got compliance with drinking water standards, such as Chrome 6, and I know that's been in the news out here in this area. You've got the system maintenance and repair. We have an aging infrastructure throughout this state. You kind of forget what's underground because, again, the water that's coming through to your home is still clean, but attention needs to be paid to the underground piping. Water treatment costs continue to go up. The energy-water nexus, people are starting to realize that everybody doesn't have the luxury of having gravity flow to get the water into their system. So energy is required. And we all know energy continues to go up even in your own home use. Investments in drought-resilient supplies, as we talked about earlier with the recycled water, and environmental requirements that are driving, so you can have a regulatory drought or you can have a man-made drought. So consider that when you're looking at all the impacts and the cost of water. Increases in energy, gas, and material costs, all associated with water on a much grander scale. These costs affect the amount you pay in your monthly water bill. And I know people say that within water districts, well, if you'd get rid of half of your staff and if you'd stop paying those exorbitant salaries, I think if you look at private and public agencies, there is not much difference in salary levels, number one. And the bulk of the revenue received from water sales in agencies goes back to, again, treating and delivering that water to you. Another reason to get involved with your district and learn about how they disperse their funds. Droughts are costly for local water agencies. Why? Well, we talked a little bit before about upgrading infrastructure and all. Well, when you do that, such as Cucamonga Valley, so we just had to spend $40 million, not that we had that in our reserves, and now over the years, that becomes a fixed cost for us that we need to pay back. And that fixed cost requires rate on the commodity charge or what you pay per unit of water for Cucamonga Valley. One of the drivers there. Unbudgeted costs and outreach and rebates. This year, I'm sure you didn't open the paper many days where there wasn't headline news about the State Water Resources Control Board and the reductions that they had imposed on all of the water districts. Some as high as reducing their demand by 38% from where they were in the year 2013. Others had, out on the coast, some of them had only reduced 10%. But unfortunately, the state, when they imposed this, looked at the state as a whole and didn't consider that maybe out here in the Coachella Valley, it gets to be 110 or 120 in the summer. I don't think it gets that way in Cambria or Santa Barbara or Ventura. But everyone out in this area has done a phenomenal job in doing their part, and thank you for removing your grass. Enforcement of water restrictions. Again, this was imposed on the water districts. It's not something the water districts chose to do because Southern California as a whole have been overly aggressive in putting water into the ground and preparing for times of drought. A lot of the agencies had water to get us through this last 2 or 3 years, but it was the state board that came back to us and said, sorry, you can't use that water that you've got sitting in the ground. You've got to reduce your consumption even more to help those agencies and those areas that maybe don't have the water. So we did what we were told, otherwise there would have been a healthy fine imposed on us. Purchase of supplemental supplies, that relates to your source supplies. So some agencies out here, you have a beautiful groundwater basin, which just consider it like a big bathtub filled with water. Others have not only groundwater, but what we refer to as imported water, so water that may come from the Colorado River, or in other parts of Southern California, you've got water that comes down the State Water Project, which is coming through the San Joaquin Delta. That is what we mean by supplemental supplies. If you're fortunate to be below a watershed, and you've got the snow melt coming down, that's another source of water to you. And again, as we alluded to, lost revenue as a result of mandatory conservation. Again, what the state mandated that the respective water agencies do. So the drought's not over. Actually, as I was coming out here, the Caltrans had one of their signs flashing again, California in severe drought, save water. We keep hearing on the news that they are releasing water out of Shasta, they've released water out of Folsom, they've released water out of Lake Oroville, and by the regulations, they have to prepare those reservoirs for snow melt. So they have so much clearance that they have to have at the top, even though the snow's not melting. And it's alarming. I learned this week that over 1 million gallons now, no, excuse me, 100 million gallons. 100 million gallons have now gone out to the ocean from the releases off these lakes and reservoirs and that I just alluded to. That's just wrong. But we're working to resolve that issue. Some of the adjustments to the state's emergency conservation regulation are possible in May. The State Water Resources Control Board is meeting today to see if they will reduce some of the percentages by which we need to reduce our conservation. So we're all keeping our fingers crossed. And then investment in drought supplies, which we alluded to. So here's some of the local investments that have been made within Southern California. So you've got Diamond Valley Lake, which many of you may be familiar with over in the Hemet area. That holds 800,000 acre feet of water when it's full. When I saw it 2 weeks ago, it was a third full because they only fill that reservoir from imported water coming down from the state. It is the largest reservoir in California. You have Contra Costa Water District, CCWD, Los Vaqueros, which has 160,000 acre feet to store water for emergency supplies. Then you've got Irvine Ranch Water District, Carlsbad, the desal plant that's just opened up down near San Diego, Orange County, that's what I was referring to, the groundwater replenishment, and Mesa Water also has a reliability facility that they're storing water and holding it for times of emergency. So 59% of the surveyed agencies raised their rates in 2015 due to the drought. Again, not what we chose, what was imposed upon us. Another 33% plan to raise their rates in 2016. Water is cheap, and people don't appreciate the value of water, and it's been undervalued for a long time. Here's a comparison for you to show from the Bay Area. You've got San Diego, Los Angeles, Orange County, Inland Empire, Central California, and at the bottom of the rung, you have Coachella Valley. So you have got the lowest rates looking throughout the state of California. So congratulations to you. I wish I lived in Coachella Valley. Hopefully you can read all that's on there. So here gives you an idea of what some of the rate increases are coming again throughout the state. San Diego, $6 per month. Zone 7, which is up in the Central Valley area, they're almost $8 a month increase on their rates. City of Sacramento, there you see, is $5 a month. LA Department of Water and Power will increase by $4.20 a month. But look at that, 2016 to 2020. So they're going out 4 or 5 years. East Bay, that's up in the San Francisco area. They did a 2-year increase, as you can read there. I don't need to restate that. And Contra Costa Water District, again, they're increasing by $2 per month. And a lot of people increased just because of the drought. So some key takeaways for you today. Water is expensive, but it's an essential resource. People don't have a problem paying $100+ a month for their cable bill or to have all the smartphones or all the techie, but I don't think eating a cell phone is going to keep me alive for 3 days, and I definitely want my water. Local water agencies are doing everything they can to keep their costs low, and trust me, we are doing everything we can. We are the stewards of the people, and we are accountable to the people. It is their money that we are working with. The cost of delivering water is increasing. So again, you've got your nexus with your energy and your water. Water doesn't all flow by gravity flow. Clean, safe, reliable water, definitely worth the investment. Just remember that glass of wine you're going to enjoy later tonight. So yes, water service costs money, but not having it can cost a lot more. We're definitely not Flint, Michigan. So with that, I say thank you very much. I could share a lot more with you, but in respect of my fellow panelists, I will close for now and look forward to taking your questions. Thank you.